So here we see an example of using methods. This is a public class called method examples. Here is our main function as normal. And what we've done is we've declared two variables. One is an integer and the other is a string. They're called rValue and rString. We then come down to this first method. You'll notice that it takes no parameters. Again, we end with a semicolon. What we'll do then is the code will look for something called first method. So you'll see here on line 26 through 29, this is where the method is declared. Now I've put in some comments here to help. The number of parameters is none. It returns nothing, and we can tell that because of the void. And when it comes into the code, it will simply just do system.out.println hello world. Upon completion of this method, it will return back to where it was called at line 8, and since there's nothing else that we will do with this, it will move directly into line 9. Here at line 9, we see that we have a call to second method, and second method takes in one parameter, which is a string. Obviously, this is denoted by the double quotes that surround Red Sox rule. For you Yankee fans out there, you'll have to change this. And no, I'm not a Red Sox fan. I'm not a Yankee fan either. But this is always fun here, especially in New York. What we'll do is second method will then drop down to line 37 through 40. Again, we have alignment with our method definition. I have public static void second method string str. Now you're going to notice that I've used the term static here. I'd like you to continue using the word static for now, because what this does is this means that we do not need a class object to work with these methods. This will become more apparent in the next section with objects and classes. So when we call second method here, it takes in one parameter, which is a string, and that string is then str is used within the method to actually do some work with it. When it is done, it returns back to where it was called. Again, since it is void, there is no return type. So here's another example. We then move into third method here on line 10, where it passes in two parameters. Each are an integer. So as I move down to lines here 47 through 50, we see that we have the third method declaration, which is a void, so it will return nothing, and it will have two integer parameters x and y. So the value of 6 will go into x, and the value of 8 will go into y. We then do our system.out.println, which will then multiply x times y, concatenate it to this word multiply, and then complete. When this is done, it comes back over to line 11. Now line 11 is a little bit different. It says rValue equals fourth method. So immediately we see the fourth method is going to be called with three parameters. The first two are integers, and the next one is a string. As we scroll down and we find our fourth method, we will notice that we have agreement here with the variable types and locations, two integers and a string, and it will return an integer. So the way this method works is we call fourth method, it comes into the code, and now we declare a variable int z. This z is only visible, including, and these x, y, and str is only visible within the braces of this code. This is basically called local scope. This is a local variable to this method. So this z is different from any other z that might have been declared in any one of the other methods if one had been declared. So what we do is z then basically takes the addition of x and y, and then what we'll do is we will do output of that string that was passed in from before, and then we will return z. So since z is an integer and the method is supposed to return an integer, we have agreement with types. So what we'll do is we will add the x and the y, which we come back to line 11, which was 2 and 16, and the value is 18. 18 will then go into rValue. So the value now that's contained within rValue is 18. And you can see that in line 13 when it prints out. In our string, in line 15, we have a call to fifth method. Obviously, this should return something. Since we know that our string is a string, this should return a string with no parameters. As we scroll down, we find on line 74 through 77, we find the method fifth method, which takes in no parameters, and we notice that the return type is a string. The code itself does return uRFinish, and it will send this uRFinished back up to the R string as an assignment, and then it will output it on line 17. So this is an example of method examples. You can try this. This is in the Blackboard code, and you should be able to run this and follow how it runs. And I would suggest just changing a few of the parameters and changing the return types just to see what errors occur so that you become more familiar with it.